Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your second Zoom lesson. I'm just going to minimize this over here. Okay. This is the grade 10 IT lesson. We are carrying on with solution development from this slide on variables. Okay. So I'm just going to activate the chat function so that if you have a question, please feel free to ask a question there. Okay, so in Delphi, we have a thing called variables. So if I want to do something, I need to declare a variable. Variables in programming are used to store values. Let me just get jump there. Okay, so variables are used to store values. Now, a variable, it goes into your RAM. It is temporary storage. So only as long as I'm using that variable is it going to keep that bit of memory. A variable should be declared before it is used. Okay, so I can't just go names assign edt text.names. Okay, I need to first or use name show message hello world, my name is plus name. I have to go and declare what is name. So let us take a look at this. The name of the variable must be indicated. For example, name. Also, the name, it needs to define what type of data it's going to be. So let's just quickly backtrack again. A string is any letter, number, or character that I want to display. So whether it be a single character or a sentence. Then we have integer. That is where I'm going to use values to do calculations. Char is if I want to display a single character. Boolean is your yes, no, or true or false. Real, I'm going to use when I'm doing calculations. And double, as I said yesterday, is if you look at your binary set of numbers, that is, we will be dealing with double much, much later. Okay, so each data type is restrictive in the type of data it can contain. Otherwise, errors will occur. So for example, I can't display an integer, so I will need to do a conversion. So single memory locations can hold onto one value at a time. If the value is replaced, for example, if I have the line of code that says I count assign I count plus 1, what that means is I would have initialized I count, so created I count and set it to 0. Then I'm going to add 5 to that. Okay, so I'm going to go out here, go back over here. So an example here would be I count assign I count plus 5. Okay, so what this means is before this I would have set I count to 0. Now I'm saying take the value that was in I count, add 5 to it, and now I'm going to override my original I count so that it takes on the new value. So this is what it means. Single memory locations can hold onto one value at a time. If the value is replaced, the previous value will be overridden. Okay. We declare a variable by using the keyword var. Okay. So let us carry on here. Okay, so declaring my variables. Under my procedure, I'm going to enter the words var. And over here, I'm going to declare all the variables needed in that procedure. So the standard rate is, let's just get this laser. I will have my variable name and then my data type. And what mustn't I forget? My semicolon. Now, do you see it is just a colon there? It's not a colon equals. So this is saying S name is of data type string. Okay. We can also declare a number of variables that have the same data type. So if I have S name, S surname, so for example here, let's say S name, S surname, what else can I have? Let's just keep it to those two. Both of these data types will be of type string. Then on the next line, what I would do is, if it is a different data type, I would then declare it as a separate line and create the integer. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, now there are a couple rules when I declare my variables. First of all, it must start with a letter or an underscore. Okay, so for example, I think I'm going to go out of presentation view so that I can type examples for you that will be easier for you to see. So for example, S name. Okay, the reason I use the S there tells me it is going to be type string. Okay, I cannot have a any spaces. Delphi doesn't know what to do with the space. It reads S name and then it doesn't know where to go further. Okay, so it's extremely important. What we then are going to do is use an underscore. So for example, S name underscore surname if you needed to do something like that. Okay, let's just make that red. Then letters, numbers, and the underscore signs are allowed after the first character. So the only special character that may be used is the underscore in naming in Delphi. Okay, so no and or hash or, because all of those actually refer to something else in Delphi. Okay, it may not contain a keyword or a reserved word. So my keywords are anything begin, end, while, do, for, all of those. I cannot use any of those words to create a variable name. And then the last bit here, only the first 25 characters of the name will be considered meaningful. Now that is quite long, but rather keep it short. Now a couple years back, I had a student who enjoyed creating very creative names, and he would call his project Yabba Dabba Doo, and what was very difficult to read in his code because it didn't associate with what it was doing. So make sure if I'm asking the user to enter their name, then the variable must be S name. It must make sense. Okay, so that is something that you will be marked on in your PAT this year. Okay, now let's quickly take a look here at our reserved words in Delphi. Okay, so I spoke earlier about reserved words that we can't use. And, array, begin, break, class, case, const, constructor, continue. You can go through this later on and you can make sure that you don't use any of these words. So I would suggest is you actually go and copy this into your book, or if you're doing your notes electronically, copy this picture and make sure you put it somewhere where you will be able to see it easily. But even if you don't have it nearby, if you start entering a variable with that name, it is going to tell you that is a reserved word. Okay. Now, let's quickly just do a refresher course on our data types. I'm going to go in here again. Okay, this comes out of your Delphi textbook, page 41. Integer can be positive and negative whole numbers, including 0, and it's going to return a number type. Real, this is where my decimals. So when I am dealing with calculations, for example, I'm painting my house and it's 4.7 meters, and I need to do calculations, rather use real. Also with currency. Okay, so all integers are also included in the real number system. And this is where I'm going to teach you about floating types, floating point types. So some of you might, if you've been watching the STEM lockdown lessons, they might have spoken about FF fixed or FF currency. Now the FF stands for fixed format. So this is where the floating point type comes in. The real data type is recommended for decimal numbers. Booleans, these are true or false. You will later on in Delphi hear about flags. This is where you will do a test. They are logical types. Chars, single or one character only, can be a number, letter, or any other character. So it can be a number, a letter, or a character. And it's always going to be of type text. Strings, this can be single or multiple characters. It can be alphanumeric, can contain characters. An example code would be GF56 %, star. So all of this is going to read as a text. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now this is a very important section. So now we're going to start looking at calculations. So you will be able to do simple sums like add 5 plus 6 in a calculation, and it will do a sum for you. Just take a sip of water. Now there are 3 different types of divisions: division, mod, and div. So division is the result is always a real value. So 10 divided by 2 will give me 5.0, or 10 divided by 3 will be 3.3 recurring. Div, use the div operator when you only need the integer part of the decision operation. So therefore, without the decimal. Do you see here? 10 div 2 is equal to 5. I've dropped my 0. 10 div 3 is equal to 3. I've dropped my recurring 3's. Then we get to mod. Mod operation also does an integer division, but this one is only going to give you the remainder. So 10 mod 3 is equal to 1. So therefore 3 times 3 is equal to 9, remainder 1. I'm not going to see this part of the equation. I will only see the 1, the remainder side. Okay. Very, very important, something that you must remember throughout when coding in Delphi. Mathematical procedures also apply here. We use BODMAS, brackets or parentheses. Some people call it PEDMAS. Brackets of division, which can be divide, div, or mod, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So the same way you would do your BODMAS in maths, you are going to write your code in the BODMAS format. Okay, so you needed to complete activity complete the activity on page 42 to 44 on a Word document or Delphi or Notepad++, either any of those options. So if you don't have Delphi at this stage, open a Word document or Google Docs and simply just type your code in there, okay? I want you to get used to typing, because in the exam you are only going to have a certain amount of time to do 4 questions. Okay, you think 4 questions, how long does that take you? How long does one tiny little activity take you in class? And that is a 40-minute lesson. Okay. Procedure output, numeric output. So numeric values needs to be converted into strings before they can be displayed. So this is where my conversions are going to come into being. Function is pre-programmed code that you can call to do certain calculations or operations and then return a result. My into string, remember I started speaking about this yesterday. This is integer to string. It takes my integer value, the one that I did the calculation with, and it's going to write it over, convert it so that I can display it as a string. Okay. Then we have float to string. Float to string. This takes a decimal value and then converts it to a string. Okay. Now, a dialog window to display output. There are different ways. I can use a show message. I can display it in a memo. I can display it in a list box. Okay, so I can display it even on a panel. But when I want a display window, that is an extra little pop-up screen that will appear that you will be able to display information to your user. So for example, I say here, show message into string, and you see over here, I have actually done a calculation. Okay, so even in my show message, I can do calculations. Now we are going to look at built-in functions. Okay. Now this is also in your Delphi textbook. You can also find it on the GDE textbook, which I have given you. The first one we're going to focus on is trunc. Trunc, what it does, it truncates the decimal part of a real number. So basically what it's saying, it's going to chop off the end of the number. Anything after the decimal, it chops it off. It doesn't exist. It doesn't see it. It exists, but it's not going to display it. So if I say trunc 8.97, all that will display is my 8. And a trunc is always integer. So it's very important for these built-in functions that you know what data type it is. Then round rounds off a number to the nearest integer. Now you have been doing rounding since grade 3, so you should all be very acquainted. So how does rounding work? If the number 0 to 4 could round down to the whole number, 5 to 9 will round up to the next number. Okay, so round 8.97 will become 9. And it is data type integer. Then frac. Okay, quite a harsh word to say. Frac is to find the decimal part. So trunc dropped my decimal, where frac focuses, like mid and div, sorry, div and mod, sorry, got them completely confused there. Trunc and frac work the same. So frac, if I have frac 74.89, it is going to drop the 74 and only display the 89 for me. But here, do you see, it is a real. Okay, so I want you to copy this information down into your notes. This slide is extremely important. Then we get to square. Finds the square root of a positive number. So square 4.5 is 20.25. And it will be a real. Why? Because we have a decimal. If I just had square 4, it will then be an integer. So do you see? Square can be real and integer. The square root, this calculates the square root of a positive number. So I can't have square root -9. Okay. So square root 12.3 would give me 3.5, and it will be a real. And square root 25, do you see it keeps the decimal where the square dropped it? Okay, it will be real because there is a decimal. Okay, hope you all understand that so far. Let's go on to the next slide. Oh, okay, here's a lot more. I know this is a lot of theory, but I'd rather get this out of the way so that when we do actually start coding, you will have background knowledge and be able to use these. There is the copy function. So copy is go and take part of that string and copy it and paste it somewhere else for me. Okay. So the copy function is made up of string from my start, that's my first position, and the length, the amount of characters that I would like. Okay. Sorry, this thing's bouncing around a bit here. Okay, so there's, I say copy. What do I want? The word south, and I want it from the second character, which is O, and I want 3 characters, O-U-T. There we go, out. The next one, length, length of the string. Now this is important because one of the activities that you will be working on is find the length of the string and give me an answer of how many letters or characters are in a word. And another one could be is find the length of the string and rewrite it in reverse. Okay, so we're going to have lots of fun here. So the length is returns the length of the string. So simply just type in length, and if I am not declaring a variable, I have to place the word in single quotes to define the string. Trim left removes the leading spaces from the string. So basically what that means is if there was a space before a word, okay, all it's going to do is going to trim left, it's going to cut off anything that's empty there, and then only take the word. Trim right does the same. If there was a space after the word south, it is going to only take the word south. Just plain trim. If I've got spaces before and after a word and I don't want to have those displayed, then I would use trim. Then string of char. This is the first part of my parameter, is the character. And the second part of my string of char is the length. So it creates a string of a specified character for a given length. So if I wanted to create a secret code and using the letter S, say, write out the letter S 5 times, I could simply say string of char S, that's my chosen letter, and how many times I want it to be? 5 characters. So S, 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 S. Now these two, upper and lower case, this is something you will be using a lot. Uppercase, what it does, it takes whatever string you have and converts it all to capital letters. Okay? So for example, uppercase south is going to return the word south in capital letters. Whereas if it was all written in capital letters and I wanted its lower letters, I'm going to use lowercase. Now you will see there is a variation called upcase depending on the variation of Delphi that you're using. Then we have here pos. Now that when we start text files in grade 11, you are going to use pos. Pos stands for position. So find the position of the delimiter. Now delimiter is a fancy word for the space or the character between the words that I am busy reading. And so what it will do is it's going to find that occurrence in a main string. Okay, so pos 0 or O in the word south. So what is the position of the O in the word south? It is 2. Okay, so this is a lot of terminology. I want you to please copy this into your notes and make sure that you will be able to use them. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, basic methods, basic mathematical problems using Delphi. I'm just going to go through this quickly because we've done most of it. We've done trace tables, we've done IPOs, we've done BODMAS. Here are the different Delphi operators for maths that you're going to use. Okay. And here we are looking at formatting numbers. I'm going to go through that in more detail with you that I want to discuss on a separate slide. Okay. Mathematical functions, we've spoken about square, square root, round, truncate, random. Now, random, what it does is it is going to pick a number between 0 and 99. So it doesn't choose the top number. It takes it from 0 to 99. Okay. So a good place for that is when I say to you, I would like you to generate a code and it must have two numbers between 0 and 10. So when I use random 10 there, it is going to choose any number between 0 and 9. Okay. Then we have in our Delphi code local and global. Okay. So local variables are variables only available inside that procedure. So that button that you've coded, the variables are only active in that procedure. If I place it globally at the top in my code under type, then the whole program, any of the procedures will be able to access that variable. So this is your variable scope. So in your PAT, you are required to declare local variables and global variables. Okay, so here we have an activity. Create the following graphic user interface. Just want to quickly pause, or it's fine. I want you to create this. What I will do is I will post the PAS if I haven't done so. I think I did send it. Even if you don't have Delphi, you can still practice typing your code. Okay, I said in Word, Notepad++, or in Google Docs, any word processing software. Okay, so what the person is required to do here is enter their name, then enter a real number. Then depending on what I just click on here, it's going to display. So it's going to display the square of the number, display the fraction, display the length, and display the number of capitals. So if you do not have Delphi, I've said here, open the code in Notepad++ or in Word. I just want to check here if I had given the activity to you. Just give me 1 minute. Do any of you have any questions thus far? Tico has asked, why does the random number not use the number 10, but only 0 to 9? It's just the way that it was set up. So if I said, give me a random number 0 to 2, if I said random 25, then it would take the numbers 0. Remember, it starts counting at 0. So if I count, there we go, actually, 0 to 9, if I'm counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see, I have 10 characters. So that is why if I made it number random 11, then it would have added 10 in, because we start, or Delphi starts counting from 0. Does that make sense to you? Okay, thank you. That was a very good question, Zico. Okay, let's quickly see if I've got this activity. Solution development. Okay. Okay, I hadn't yet put the next activity. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to end the lesson here today. We are on over 30 minutes already. Please, if you've got Delphi, design activity 2 for me tomorrow. I will create it and I'm going to, not tomorrow, on Monday. And if I must just check that Monday is not a public holiday. I saw on the lessons for the STEM that there will only be from Tuesday next week. So just for those that are following those lessons. Okay, so I will send you this activity. I'm also going to send the code in a Word document so that the students who are struggling can simply enter it in the Word document. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, all of you. May you have a wonderful weekend. Take some time off. You have been working hard. And if you have any questions, please post them for me and we will continue working through this. Have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.